We got another video. I am so happy with how these turned out. Like, it's a moment, y'all. It's so freaking pretty. And we also have an exciting announcement today. Hello book reading friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Mel and today I bring you another book recommendations video, but today is specifically book recommendations with strong female characters. So today we're going to be talking all about strong female characters in books in case this is something that you are looking for. International Women's Day has just gone by. It is Women's History Month, so I thought this was the perfect moment to recommend all of you some books with strong female characters that are literally just kick-ass. They are decided, they have inner strength, they are empowering, and they are just inspiring to so many women out there. So I am so excited to be talking about all of these books today. And I also have an exciting announcement before we even dive into the video. We officially now have a Patreon, which is so incredibly exciting. You can find the link to the Patreon down below for the Citadel, and it's up and running now. We are doing so many exciting things. You get so much exclusive content, early access to videos, so it's all around just an exciting time in the Citadel. So if that is something that interests you, if you want to have more one-on-one time with me, if you want to get early access to videos, or if you want just more content in general. So just had to break that little thing in the video because I feel like I've constantly forgotten to mention it in a video, and all of my other social medias are always linked down below, you guys know. And without further ado, let's get into some books with strong female characters. So the first female character that I had to highlight today is Marley Harper from Intercepted by Alexa Martin. Now, Intercepted is a sports romance, kind of NFL wives, and in this one we specifically follow Marley Harper, who has been in a relationship with an NFL player for a few years now, and when she finds out that he has indeed been cheating on her and that relationship has been built on a bunch of lies, she vows to never date an athlete again after that happens. However, that all takes a twist when the new football player, the new quarterback, enters the team, and his name is Gavin Pope, a person that she kind of has a past with, a person that she will now reconnect with, and a person that she has a lot of chemistry with. I feel like Marley in particular stands out in romance books that I have read because she is so decided and she is so strong. She knows what she wants, she knows who she is, she knows where she comes from, and she knows where she wants to go in life. She is not afraid to step up for herself. She literally, explicitly, verbatim tells one of the characters in this book, sit down, I can handle it, do not speak for me, do not do that ever again because I do not like what you're doing. And so I love the fact that Marley is so outspoken about what she likes and what she dislikes. She is not afraid to tell people her truth, and she is unapologetically herself despite what people around her say or do to her. In an environment where the superficial seems to thrive, where fakeness seems to thrive, Marley stays herself throughout the entirety of her journey, and she constantly steps up for herself, and I just think that is so worthy of admiration. When I was crafting this list, I was kind of brainstorming on where I wanted the video to go, and when I was brainstorming on the books that I may or may not talk about, I realized that I wanted to talk about a little bit of everything. So we also have middle grade in this video, and the first middle grade that I want to highlight is Omari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. In Omari and the Night Brothers, we follow Omari Peters, and we follow her specifically after her brother has gone missing. And although the police does have an ongoing investigation to try and find Quentin, they still constantly try to fit him into this box of he probably messed with the wrong people, he's probably on the wrong side of the tracks, he probably started messing with stuff that he shouldn't have, and that's why he's gone missing. And they are not giving him a fair shot in this whole investigation process. And so Omari takes it into her own hands to try and find him, puts flyers everywhere. She is constantly seeking him out in social media in whatever way she can. And whilst she is doing that, she finds a suitcase that is intended only for her eyes that was left behind by her brother Quentin. And in that briefcase, she finds an invitation to tryouts for the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, a place where kids know magic and they have known magic all their lives. So Omari definitely finds herself at a disadvantage because she didn't even know that this world, that this magic existed. And so now she needs to go through several trials and tribulations against all of these kids to find her rightful place in this bureau and to hopefully find her brother in the midst of all of this craziness. So there's so many moving parts to this story, and I genuinely think that Omari is such an empowered young woman, and I love to see that. This book was definitely Omari going through trials and tribulations, trying to find her way in a world that is seemingly against her, in a world that has put systems in place that are not favorable to her, unfortunately, and where she needs to navigate that in a different way. And she finds herself constantly being critiqued and discriminated and kind of cast aside by her peers. And despite all of that, Omari stays strong throughout all of her journey, and Omari wants to create a space for herself, and she wants people to listen, and she wants people to understand who she is and where she comes from, and that all she has is good intentions at heart, and that she has love to give, and that she wants to go on adventures, and that she is just a regular kid as everyone else in this bureau. And Omari's journey in this book truly embodies all of that, and it's just a joy to read this book. I absolutely loved every second of Omari's journey in this. Would it be a book recommendations video highlighting strong female characters if I didn't talk about Fang Runin from the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang? Now, this trilogy completely wrecked me when I read this. This trilogy was so fantastic. It was so exciting. Granted, the characters are infuriating. They make such bad decisions throughout the entirety of the trilogy, but I do not think if it had happened any other way, it would have been as realistic as it was. And so in the Poppy War, we follow Rin, who is an orphaned girl, and she has been constantly abused in her life. She has always been kind of the means to an end, and so she really wants to get out of that life. She wants to make something out of herself, and she finds herself constantly studying to ace the Keidra, which is an empire-wide test to find people to put into different military academies to assist in the war. And once she aces the Keidra, she actually did a lot better than she ever intended or expected, and she gets put into the Synagogue, which is the most elite military academy in the entire empire. And once she gets to the Synagogue, Rin is once again targeted for her skin, for her background, for her gender, and she is once again at a disadvantage. And then she finds out that she possesses the ancient art of shamanism, which in this world is forbidden. And she feels the call from a particular god that wants chaos, mayhem, and bloodshed, and that is the Phoenix. And Rin is probably the only opportunity that the Empire has of winning this war. And I once again find myself saying that Rin is a very frustrating character. Rin is very stubborn. Rin definitely does not make the right decisions, but I think despite all of that, this book is truly meant to depict how war affects people mentally, how it affects them emotionally, and how that kind of warps the mentality of people, how that kind of warps the way that people act, the way that they react. And I think Rin is the perfect embodiment of that. Rin is a very flawed character, but despite that, she is still very strong and resilient, because although she has gone through so much, although she has suffered so much, although she has lost so much, and she constantly finds herself being used as a weapon, Rin is constantly there at the front of the line, expecting herself to give her all and willing to sacrifice herself for the greater good. And again, although she doesn't make the greatest decisions, she is definitely the embodiment of a strong female character at its finest. Especially in this setting, everything is so gruesome, everything is so realistic, that her particular kind of strength, I feel, is 1 in a million. And next up, I have my girl Noemi Taboada from Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Now, this is a tricky one because when I first read this book, I did rate this a 3 out of 5 stars. However, I feel like because of what this book is, because of the genre that it's in, because of the subgenre that I find myself categorizing this book that is being marketed as, I feel it's not gonna be everyone's cup of tea, but for people who do enjoy this types of stories, you will absolutely love this book. So, Mexican Gothic is a gothic horror, so just be mindful that this is gonna be more along the lines of the atmosphere and the romance, not necessarily about the classical horror elements that you would see, that you would peep in a horror book. So just have in mind that this is more so about that atmosphere. The description in here is fantastic, and the entire cast of characters is so complex. I don't think I have ever met a more complicated cast of characters in my life as I did with Mexican Gothic. Nothing is as simple as it seems in this book, and the way that the characters were constructed was just fantastic, but particularly Noemi. In this book, we follow Noemi Taboada after she is summoned by her cousin to her newest estate because she is a newlywed, and she is summoned by her via a letter that comes across as very in distress. And so Noemi travels to the outskirts of Mexico in order to get to this estate, to get to this mansion in order to see exactly what is happening to her cousin. And while she is there, Naomi literally encounters the craziest group of people I have ever met in my life. When I tell you, Naomi literally went through so much in this estate, in this mansion, it is beyond me. And the fact that Naomi was not scared of what was happening, that she was facing this face first, face front. She was defending her cousin at all costs. She was defending herself. She was constantly getting herself out of these tricky situations, out of these very uncomfortable racist situations, colorism situations that, again, the book is so complicated. It just has so many different elements that I quite enjoyed while I was reading. And Naomi was constantly shutting these down. Naomi was constantly seeking out answers. She was a very active part in the story. She was never a passive character, which I very much enjoyed about Naomi as a character. And she was really never scared of stepping up and taking that role of the savior, I guess you could call it, to make sure that everyone got out of this alive. A lot of points also go to Alex Stern from Ninth House, and I do have a whole dedicated review to Ninth House. I will leave it linked down below. That was my first Makeup Monday episode, and so you can check that out for all of my in-depth thoughts about this. It is spoiler free, so don't you worry about spoilers. In Ninth House, we follow Alex Stern, and Alex Stern was the sole survivor of a very fatal accident that left all of her friends dead. And while she was in the hospital, she gets a very enticing offer from one of the higher people in Yale University. In fact, this person is a part of the secret societies in Yale, and he offers her a full ride scholarship just because they need her particular power in these secret societies, and they could really make a use out of it. Alex, since she was very young, could see grays, which are ghosts. And when she takes this offer and embarks on this new journey to Yale University, she finds herself at a constant disadvantage because she didn't grow up well off, because she is not as high society as all of these people are, especially the people within these secret societies. Alex is constantly judged and put down because of where she came from, because of who she is. But then she becomes a really big part of these secret societies once a murder and a disappearance go down, and Alex really steps up the plate, and she will try to all costs to figure out exactly what is happening in these secret societies. Alex has gone through so much, it's honestly heartbreaking. Growing up having seen ghosts was very not only traumatizing for her, but because she could actually touch these ghosts, they did take corporeal form and they could interact with her. It obviously surpassed the barrier of physicality, which is something that Grace typically can't do. And so because of it, Alex has suffered a lot when she was growing up. She has gone through things that children, women, nobody should go through. And the fact that she is very strong still is the biggest sign of resilience in her journey. And although she does turn to substances, she does turn to drugs occasionally to try and suppress her powers, to try and ignore that which she has inside her, she still finds herself constantly aiding people because she knows it's for the greater good, because she knows that although she may not be comfortable, she is probably one of the few people that can help in these situations, and she puts aside her own fear in order to aid people. And I think that in and out of itself is admirable. That in and out of itself is a different type of strength that not a lot of people possess, and I think that is one of the main reasons why Alex continuously stands out to me as one of those strong female characters, because although she is afraid of these ghosts, although she is afraid of these secret societies and the power that they hold, she is very much aware of how the world works, of what these secret societies are, and she learns how to navigate herself through these societies. Again, that she finds herself at a constant disadvantage and she finds a way to make it work. The book also has dual timelines, which is one of my favorite things, and it is so well executed in this book. They just work so well in tandem, so that is definitely one thing that also stands out with this book. And next up, I have Enchanted Jones from Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. Now, this is more of a recent read for me, and when I tell you, this was a book that made me so mad, and I was just infuriated throughout the entirety of my read, but I still just, this book was everything to me. You know when sometimes you just read a book and you can't find yourself to annotate because it'll take you away from the story and you just want to keep turning those pages? That is exactly what happened to me with Grown. And in Grown, we follow Enchanted Jones, and Enchanted Jones has long since dreamed to be one of the bigger names in the music industry. She yearns to do this professionally. She yearns for this to be her career. And when she meets Corey Fields, who is one of the bigger names in the R&B music side of the industry, he literally promises her the world. He promises her the record deal and the fame and the fortune and the tours and the recordings and everything that she has ever ever dreamed of, except that it all goes awfully wrong once she enters the world of Corey Fields. And that's when the exploration of the darker side of the music industry starts in this book. Enchanted unfortunately finds herself in this book in not only a physically abusive relationship, but she also finds herself in a situation where she is being emotionally manipulated, where she is being emotionally abused, where her mentality is constantly being warped and shaped into whatever this man wants of her, into whatever he desires, because he holds the upper hand. And we are talking about a man that clearly knows better, that should have known better, and he still decides to commit all of these crimes. He still decides to be this abusive persona, to still exert that type of power that he knows that he has in the worst way possible. And Enchanted's strength is something that is reflected, unfortunately, in a lot of daily situations for women. This is something that is so real. This happens to people. This has happened to people, and that is the most heartbreaking thing about this book. But even if a lot of things seem dark for Enchanted, even though at times there seemed to be no hope, even though at times the story got insanely crazy, there was still that inkling of hope for Enchanted, that maybe life would get better, that maybe she'd be able to get out of that situation. And the fact that Enchanted never gave up, the fact that Enchanted was constantly there trying in and out to get herself out of that situation, trying to figure out what was happening, trying to figure out why things didn't add up. And so Enchanted's story is a very real one, but it is a type of strength that is commendable, because she is a survivor, and she is strong, and she is worthy, and she is powerful, and she is loved, and she is beautiful, and no matter what she has gone through, she is still all of those things, if not more all of those things. The next character I have is Imani Santiago from With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I recently also read this book, and you know I didn't give this book as high a rating as I have other Acevedo's books. However, that does not take away from the fact that Imani is such a strong character. In this book, we follow obviously Imani Santiago, and she is actually a teen mom. She has her daughter Emmy, and she is providing for her daughter, and she is trying to take care of her as best as she can alongside her abuela. And the only place that she can truly let loose is in the kitchen. She wants to professionally pursue the culinary arts. She wants to study that and hopefully one day become a chef herself, have her own place, and transmit that love of food to other people. And whilst she is taking care of her daughter and she finds her safe place in the kitchen, she is trying to juggle so many different things at once. She is trying to figure out what she's gonna do with her life, what she's gonna study, where she's gonna go. She also has her job that gives her enough money to provide for her kid, then she is taking care of her kid, and then she is also trying her hardest to get the best grades to graduate from high school. And then on the side, she also has to deal with Emmy's father, which is a complicated relationship in and out of itself, whilst juggling a romance of her own present time. And so there are just so many elements to this book that make Imani such a strong, empowering woman. I think she truly embodies the type of women that literally kind of come across as the Wonder Woman, the Wonder Mom, the person who can seemingly do everything at the same time and still find ways to succeed, even though there are stumbles along the way. The fact that she finds herself doing so many things to get by, to provide for her daughter, and to continuously educate herself to provide the best for her daughter, because truly her daughter is the center of her world, is such an admirable trait that Imani has. The fact alone that she finds herself being a mom at such a young age, and she finds herself dealing with the criticism of being a teen mom, the fact that she finds herself again at a disadvantage in school and people constantly critiquing her, getting special treatments but not getting special treatments, and really having a difficulty getting by. Imani is just so resilient. She constantly pushes through every obstacle, no matter what she needs to do, because she knows that whatever comes out of it needs to be the best, not only for her daughter but also for herself, because she wants to make a great life for herself and her family. An oldie but a goodie, and as read by Tiffany would say, one of the classics, we have Annabeth Chase from the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. This is a series that I really want to reread this year. I definitely want to revisit the Percy Jackson world. I had so much fun reading this when I was younger, and I constantly found myself admiring Annabeth for so many different reasons. Let me get into the synopsis first, even though this book needs no introduction. So in this one, we follow Percy Jackson as he is about to get kicked out of his boarding school again. As of lately, Percy is dealing with a lot of different things. He is able to see mythological creatures. A teacher that seems to to not be his teacher, and things that he technically shouldn't be seeing because these are things that are very fantastical, that are part of the Greek mythology, things that he never really knew were a real thing. On top of that, he seems to have angered a few gods unintentionally, not having done anything, and Zeus is the most angry out of all of them because his lightning bolt has been stolen, and Percy is the prime subject of this crime, if you will. And Percy shall embark in this journey with his friends to try and find Zeus's lightning bolt before the 10 days are over. And the story is so much more complicated than that because Percy is coming to terms with so many different things, like who his father is and his father abandoning him, and solving riddles and trying to figure out exactly what this all means to him now that he has found out so many answers to the questions that he's had for years. And in particular, the character worth highlighting here is Annabeth Chase, which is one of Percy's friends. And I think Annabeth Chase was definitely written in a way that breaks the stereotype of the dumb blonde, if you will. We all know that has been a stereotype that has been going on for years. That is a stereotype that has been used constantly in movies and books to kind of highlight this thing that is not at all true, that is just literally, quite literally, like the embodiment of a stereotype. And I think Annabeth as a character not only breaks that stereotype, but she also breaks so many other stereotypes. I think women in books are constantly categorized, or were categorized, as like the geeky girl, or the tomboy, or the mean girl, or the outsider girl, or the underdog. We constantly find ourselves seeing female characters be kind of fit into these boxes, or we have seen those for such a long time. And I think Annabeth in this particular story in the series was written so well because she was never fit into just one box. Yes, she was the tomboy, but she also liked to read, and she was an introvert, but she was also an extrovert, and she liked to stay inside at times, but she also liked to go outside with her friends. So Annabeth is such a well-rounded, realistic character. I think she truly embodies what a lot of young women do and are. So I like the fact that she was never fit into just one box, and that she broke out of many stereotypes that were very typical in the publishing industry back then, and even in the cinema industry back in the day. And of course, being a daughter of Athena, she also possesses so many different skills. She is not only very handy in the hand-to-hand combat, she is very skilled in that. She is also very smart, and she constantly finds herself providing answers to these things that Percy doesn't really know, that people in general don't really know. I just love her dynamic with Percy as well throughout the series, and I just feel like she really embodies what a realistic female, what a realistic woman is. Now, this is technically the last book before I go into the honorable mentions, because the honorable mentions are really books that I constantly talk about, so I didn't want to make them like the highlight of this video, but I will be mentioning them. However, the last character that I want to talk about is Juliet from These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. Now, this book has gone through an entire journey of the first wave of people loving this book, and then now there's a wave of people that haven't necessarily enjoyed this book. So if I were to say something, I would say proceed with caution. I was personally one of the people that really loved this book. I found it really fast-paced. I got through it so quickly. I found it so intriguing. I love the way that Chloe Gong kind of flipped these characters and subverted a lot of tropes. I just really love the execution of this book overall. And this one is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1926 Shanghai. And we follow rivaling gangs, the Scarlet Gang and the White Flowers. One is from Shanghai and the other one is Russian. And we in particular follow Juliet and Roma as they have gone through a lot in their years. Their relationship is very complicated. They constantly go from like love to hate to love to hate to love to hate. So it is very enemies to lovers, but like the journey is constantly renewable. So they constantly go from enemies to lovers to enemies to lovers to enemies to lovers to fake enemies. It's a journey, people. It's a journey. And they find themselves having to put down their guns and their weapons in order to find out exactly what is happening to all of these gangs, exactly why these murders are happening in Shanghai, and what monster, yes, you heard it right, what monster is truly causing all of this mayhem. Just a forewarning, if you want to go into this book, just be mindful that it is kind of nasty. There are a lot of bugs in this book. I have also heard of people that have trypophobia that have been triggered because of this book. If you find yourself in this situation, just be mindful that that is like a big part of the book. Like bugs, thousands of bugs at the same time are a big part of this book. But personally, while I was reading, I found Juliet to be such a strong character, and I liked the fact that in this book in particular, Juliet was kind of the stronger, like the brains and bronze, whereas Roma was kind of like the soft boy, definitely pining for Juliet. And I liked the fact that this was backwards. I liked the fact that in this situation we have the female, we have Juliet that is constantly finding herself at a standstill, where she wants to step up to the plate, that she wants to live up to the expectation, that she wants to live up and surpass her father's shadow, and she doesn't want to live in it. She wants to stand up for herself, make something for herself. And although she doesn't make the greatest decisions because of that mindset, she is still very much strong. She is not scared to whip out that gun, to whip out that knife. She is not scared to go on these quests to find out the answers for herself. She is also a very active character. She is never sitting down just waiting for stuff to be handed to her. She is firsthand on that action, and I love that about Juliet, because she never expects things to be done for her, especially because she is the heir of the Scarlet Gang. So she feels the need to step up, and again, not the greatest decisions at times, but definitely somebody that possesses so much strength that if you were to go into a fight with Juliet, you will probably go down in a matter of seconds, because that alleyway scene between Roma and Juliet, sis really snapped. She really did that, and she did not care. She's unapologetically herself, and she is strong. Now, some honorable mentions, because of course I couldn't go by without talking about these books. The first honorable mention that I have for you guys today should come as no surprise, and that is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, Ms. Bryce Quinlan. So empowering for so many different reasons. Now, in Crescent City, we do follow Bryce Quinlan, who is half fae, half human, and she finds herself in the midst of this murder investigation alongside a fallen angel called Hunt Athalar, and they must try and find out exactly what is happening in Crescent City, why all of these murders are happening, and exactly what happened behind the tragedy in Bryce's own life. I think Bryce's journey was so beautifully heartbreaking yet empowering at the same time. She definitely is a character that has gone through so much. She has lost and she has gained, and her journey mentally and physically was so empowering to read about. At the end of the book, you truly see a Bryce that is not afraid to step up because she wants to and she needs to. It's a mix of both, and she embraces that, and she embraces that sometimes she needs to let go of what she wants to do what she needs to do, because nobody else can do it but herself. And I love that about Bryce, and I love the fact that she has embraced all of those things, and even though the journey there wasn't easy, she still got there, and there was a lot of healing to do for Bryce. I definitely do not need to talk about Bryce too much, because we all know I freaking love Bryce Quinlan. Miss Nesta freaking Archeron, I still to this day don't know how to pronounce their last name, even though I've read these books a million times. I don't know if I need to talk about this book more than I have. I will link my reading vlog for this down below. I think all that I could and should have said is said in that reading vlog. I don't even know at this point how to express my love for Nesta and for her journey. I think it's so beautiful that we got to see her journey in this book, and the whole conversation surrounding PTSD and trauma was just fan-freaking-tastic. She definitely has gone through so much, but she has come out on top by the end. And I think the quote that truly embodies this book is the following, and I have kind of made it my mantra as well, especially when I am not feeling my best. I am the rock against which the surf crashes. Nothing can break me. I think that's literally the epitome of Nesta's journey and who she's become. And could I go by without mentioning Poppy from Blood and Ash? I don't know if I could. In From Blood and Ash, we follow Poppy, who is a maiden, and she has been chosen from the womb by the gods to fulfill this role as the maiden that is connected to every ascension in the kingdom. The ascension, very mysterious. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows what truly happens in these ascensions or what the purpose for these are. The only thing that we know is that Poppy is connected to every single one of them, and in order to ensure her safety, to make it to the day of her ascension, the king and queen assign her a royal guard by the name of Hawk Flynn. And Hawk is the one person that will finally make Poppy feel a lot of things that she has been forbidden to feel, like lust and love and yearning, because she is not able to be touched or approached or addressed by anyone in the kingdom because of who she is. And I think despite the fact that Poppy has grown up so sheltered, she still continuously tried to figure out ways to equip herself for the world in which she lives. She found herself training, and she found herself trying to learn things that were out of her control, that were out of her knowledge because of the way that she grew up. And I love the fact that Poppy is not afraid to speak up her mind, Poppy is not afraid to whip out that blade and to defend herself and to defend the people that she loves no matter the cost. And so I just love the fact that, again, even though Poppy grew up the way that she did, which was very unfortunate, she still found ways to train herself and to make sure that she was knowledgeable in ways to defend herself in a world that is seemingly all against her and that is constantly targeting her because of the role that she has. And those are all the books that I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this video talking all about some of my favorite female characters. There are definitely some more that I could have talked about, so if you do want a part 2 of this video, I can definitely make that happen later on. And if you want any sort of book recommendations video in particular, let me know down below what in particular you'd like to see. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe down below for more bookish content. Again, constantly uploading videos, and I'm sure you do not want to miss. I am also live streaming throughout the week, doing my weekly reading sprints, and you can also follow me on all of my social medias, which are always linked down below, as well as my Patreon. And comment down below if you've read any of these books, or if you have any other book recommendations with strong female characters. Leave them all in the comments down below, because I am always peeping them and I want to see some of your recommendations, because I am sure there are so many books out there that I have personally yet to read, but I'd love to do so. And if you reached the end of the video, let's leave some sword emojis down below, because why not? We are talking about strong female characters, and I feel like some swords might be accurate with that, so let's leave some sword emojis down below. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye guys.